Well,
I can't see. There
there
you
we
are.
are. There's always some kind of technical difficulty that's trying to get in your way. How are you? Dave Fennoy here, doing fine. Another Wednesday, another Ask Dave Fennoy Anything. Uh, I want to say hello right quick to Stacy, the Walking Dead game fan, who is there every week. Even though we don't talk about fan stuff or work I've done, we just talk about voiceover in general and with whoever my guest is. But I appreciate you popping by every week. Couple of things. All the Ask Dave Fennoy Anythings live on my YouTube channel, Dave Fennoy Voiceover Training. If you are interested in coaching with me, davefennoy.com. Click on the Study VO tab, and you can follow me at Dave Fennoy VO. A lot going on in my life right now to talk about. A podcast just dropped, the Trivio Pursuits podcast with Mark, Mandy, and Matt. They had me on, and we don't really talk voiceover on that. We do trivia, and it's a kind of a contest. We do trivia, talk a lot of smack, and drink alcohol. And I won. I won the trivia. So, and I'm gonna have each of those three on at some point. Also, a reminder on the 22nd and or 23rd. I can't get this date right. Apparently, it's the 22nd in London or the UK, and the 23rd here. An animated movie that I'm in is going to drop. And as a matter of fact, you want to see the trailer? Okay, I'm going to let you see the trailer here before we get going. Here it is.
Wow, that's so cool.
Dad loved coming here, man. He'd stare at those stars for hours. Max? Max! Max! Stay back. We're going home.
Things like the air we breathe, our rights and our freedoms. These could be taken from us in the blink of an eye.
Sergeant Luna, this is your new commanding officer.
I love it.
Merry Christmas, Max.
What if we could jump into alternate realities in a multiverse of infinite possibilities?
Leon, you have to get out of here.
We need the kid alive.
Max is currently perceiving multiple realities at once.
The implications of this are incalculable.
He's been leaping from reality to reality, trying to find the one in which you do save him.
We're going home, Max. You and me.
You and me.
Take us to the boy.
No one will ever hurt you.
The next time he riffs, he will die.
You're going to be brothers.
What are you looking for? What's the variable?
Where did they take my brother?
Leon, run!
Wow. I want to see that. Action packed.
Yeah.
Huh? It's going to be available to watch on Amazon Prime and Apple TV. But let's meet our guest, the fabulous Terry Berland, who has been a casting director and voiceover coach and acting coach for about a You've been doing this about a quarter of a century.
Yes. Yes.
And ask anyone. Terry is one of the most respected casting directors and coaches. And thank you so much for
Well,
agreeing once again to join me on Ask Dave Fennoy Anything. And I want to know, how did you get in this wacky business?
well, it was my first job. I lived in New York City, and at Madison Avenue ad agencies had casting departments. There were no freelance casting directors at the time. So I got a job. It was before the internet, and I got a job answering phones as an assistant and just watched and wide-eyed and bushy-tailed and worked my way up. It wasn't like now where a friend can throw you a job and you can hang out a shield and say, I'm a casting director. It was an actual title that you had to get hired for and earn. As I had to work my way up then through the ranks to become an actual casting director after an assistant. And then I ended up being the head of casting for BBDO, which at the time was the third largest agency in the world. And I got a job there and then eventually became head of casting for BBDO worldwide. So,
You know,
I really had to work my way up the ranks.
yeah, you came up the honest way. Uh,
Yeah.
I've got what makes a great casting director? What do you think the qualities that you have that have allowed you to be a casting director and such a notable casting director for so long?
Um, Curiosity, open-mindedness, and you have to be fearless.
Hmm.
Um, because it's really scary when you're given a breakdown and you start with a blank canvas. You put the word out there, you put the breakdown out, and then you see what comes in back to you. Of course, things have changed. It used to be that we called the talent in and directed them, and we only had, you'd have to figure out the math. How long is the script? And you'd have to figure out how many people you could read in a day. And we usually would give 50 appointments because two or three would have to drop out for one reason or the other. But now, of course, everything is home reads and the talent are self-directing. So um, we have to put the breakdown out very precisely. And the ad agency gives us directions and then,
You have to pass those on.
yeah, but we have to change them because how they talk to us, they're not explaining it right. We won't get what we need from you. So the having history under our belt as to how to explain it and describe it to the actors, to kind of foresee how they're going to interpret it. So we
So
get back.
let me get this straight. So the people who want you to find the actors for the TV shows, the commercials, whatever it is, the video games, the anime, whatever it is you're casting, they have a particular language that you have to translate into something that we, the actors, understand. What kind of language do they use? What's an example of something you would get from them, and how would you translate it?
Well, you see it when a casting director isn't involved. It's usually a very, very long paragraph or two, and they go on and on and on. And a lot of it is push and pull. they tell you one thing, then another thing, and it gets very confusing.
You know, that's interesting because I have had this conversation with students of mine and myself when I'm talking to myself about what do they mean, why do they have this much information? Why are they going on and on and on? And they're saying ABC in this sentence,
Right,
and then they counter themselves with XYZ later on. And I
exactly.
always wonder, is it a committee and everybody's trying to get their points in?
They're just they want to get their point across, and they just keep saying it over and over and covering themselves. And so a good casting director will read through that and change it so it's simple and really leans in the direction that we want your reads to lean. Um, and sometimes we just can't get the right information from them. There was a job that I was working on recently that had a lot of roles, and it was for commercial animation. And one of the roles was not working what they were telling me. The direction did not match the age and the sound and feel of what they really wanted. So, but I couldn't get anything more. I said to my producer, this isn't working. Like they're asking, the direction is for an older age than the age sound that they want. And it was interesting because when I was at VO Atlanta with you, and a number of the actors who were there auditioned for this, and we were talking, and they said, yeah, that one role is really difficult. Like that's, and I said, yeah, it's difficult because they're not clear and it's not working. And that's why you're interpreting it as being difficult.
And you know, I think that actually happens a lot. Um, I think people often have a mistaken feeling about what a particular age sounds like. I know when I was much younger and they said, oh, this character is 70, I would make him, which probably is more like 90. Uh,
Right.
so I see that sometimes, and I know that there are people who are in their 20s, 30s, doing some casting and writing some of the particulars that they want. And I often wonder, gee, do they know
Yeah,
what ages actually sound like?
I know. And I have a producer that I talk directly to, and she's my buffer um, against or with she. Then there's the people at the ad agency where she's delivering everything to. So I can talk to her about these challenges, just what you're saying. And sometimes she can talk to them.
Yeah.
Um, so, yeah, they're not what you're feeling, they're
They're
feeling.
not always as accurate as you would like them to be. Yeah, it's interesting. When I'm teaching, sometimes I like to use scripts sometimes that I can tell there are some mistakes in them. Um,
Hmm.
and the reason I want to use those scripts and point them out is to let actors know that even the casting people, the people who wrote this, may not be perfect. And sometimes you have to use your own instincts. I've got a question for you. Now, I've been in this business a long time. I can't tell you how many times I've got an audition. The spec said ABC. You gave them ABC. You heard it a few weeks later, and it's diametrically opposed. It's a
Yeah,
different age. It's a different sex. It's a whole different thing than what they asked for. Um, I have
yeah.
gotten to the point I say, well, actors, you've got to use your instincts. How can an actor be better at sussing out when I need to pay attention and maybe when I need to take my own tack?
Well, you have to come close to what they want. Um, if your age is different, and what could drive an actor crazy also is when it says a voice that's different, a voice that's unique. And don't pay attention to those things, because your voice is your voice. And don't try to make your voice any different than it is or more unique than it is. And then just, if it's strong, knowledgeable, and friendly, you have to know which way to lean. So if you lean too hard on the strong and knowledgeable and don't add the friendly, you'll be off target.
Yeah.
Um, so you have to like get to know those key words and then really know which way to lean. But the thing is that things have changed, and my clients always came to me for the more real sounds. Even when I do animation, I once had a gig at Nickelodeon where I had to actually discover a new language in voice. And that was actually a lot of fun. Um,
How do
but
you
other than,
discover a new language? Is this like The Sims or something?
well, what happened if a character had a little like growl to them? So I would say that growl, I would notice that growl is interesting, like develop the character more using that growl, things like that. Uh, but other than that, my clients come to me for the more real sound. And just, it's interesting what you said earlier, because the auditions are different. They are more real, and then they get you into the studio, and maybe one person is talking to you, but four people are talking to that person who's directing you, and they have you go this way, that way, back around.
I
And by
have
the
been in many of those sessions, and the ones that I hate the most, especially on commercials, are where they sent the junior partners or the junior directors, and you do your read. They get the one they like. Hang around while we cut this in with the music and so forth. And then they got to
yeah,
find the guy on the golf course that couldn't be bothered to come in. And of course, he can't just, or she can't just say, oh, yeah, that's perfect. Go for it. They got to say something different. They got to add their own 2 cents. And so many times I've been saved by an engineer, the recording engineer, who you're at take 15, 20, goes, you know what, go back and listen to take 3. And they're like, oh, yeah, he had it then.
yeah.
So looking,
Well,
go ahead.
I have clients sometimes who are all over the place, and they're not on the golf course, and they're in Europe or another state. And they do have to, we'll add a bumper to the end of the session of about an hour. And because after you've finished everything, it has to go, your recordings, it has to then pass by them right then and there. So if they want something different, they'll ask for it, and you'll be tweaked right then and there. Um, I mean, you actor, voiceover artist, you're just so valuable, and you have to know that. Um, Casting, yeah, we have good ears and we're trained to what we do, but we can't do what you do. well, there are some casting directors who are also voiceover artists, but I'm not. And a casting director, um, you know, they're casting directors. They're
Yeah.
not talent. And we're really depending on you. And you're just so talented. So you just have to know how needed you are. And then even when you're in a session like Dave, you're just describing, there are reasons that it's going back and forth, back and forth. The creative team sometimes is being run around by their client and they're trying to keep that account.
Mm.
And they're trying to outguess their client. And sometimes they're having problems with their client. In fact, when the final, not the final, but when the after the casting sessions, they always give me three people um, who they're going to a first choice and two backups who they're going to present to the client. And they're trying to be very creative and also please the client. And I just,
Question on that. Now, the two people, the one person and the two backups, how similar are they? Are they completely different, very similar?
sometimes they're quite different, but most of the time they're very similar, but there's just a little different feel. And when it's put to the picture, it has a little different feel, each person. But I have a great insight when, see, I know who the first choice is, but I'll never say that when I put out my avails because each choice that you keep the avail time is so very important. And I can't tell you how many times the client does not pick the ad agency's first choice. And if there's 8 roles and they haven't picked the first choice in each role, in my head, I go, uh-oh, like this creative team is really not in sync with their
With their client.
clients.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now you said something
So
you said something just a little bit ago, and I'm kind of moving to a different area. You talked about how important we are as voiceover actors, how much we're needed. What are your thoughts on AI and the number of AI voices we're hearing? And if you're flipping through videos on Facebook or TikTok, you're hearing a ton of them. Some of them are great voices, but there's always something that's not quite right with them. How worried should we be?
well, I hate it. I hate AI, and they can't do what you guys can do. They can't um, give that moment that has life in that moment to a read where you're not speaking and it's just a moment, and the nuances of your choices and the nuanced rhythms of maybe 3 words together, how you play with them. Um, the best I can say right now is, you have people fighting for your rights, and um, there is talk about there's hopefully you can find the good in using it. Um,
There's
that
some. I think there's some things that maybe AI voices, great, fine, do that. If you're pulling in to buy a hamburger and you're sitting in your car, um, maybe the person who is taking your money and putting stuff in the bag doesn't need to also be the person asking you. Maybe that you can push a button, the AI talks, and hi, what would you like today? It wouldn't sound that bad. They're making them sound better than that, unfortunately. Give your order, and then the person that actually interacts with you, gives your order. Um, there are some things. Your company has some instructions about this, that, and the other. But for really connecting with a commercial, with a narration that really is a story. Um, there's nothing like a good old fashioned human being.
Yeah, I mean, you have people, who are working on protecting you, and hopefully it works.
Yeah, I
Their
would
protection is
encourage
what
people to check out NAVA, the National Association of Voice
yeah,
Actors. We are very involved in
yes,
getting legislation that will protect us because the moneyed interests, the ones who are uh, doing the hiring, would love nothing better than not have to pay you. I I saw the thing they wanted to do with extras. Hey, let's have you in. We'll pay you for this session.
yeah,
We'll take all the pictures and then we'll use you and your likeness forever. But our voices have to be ours. Um,
yeah.
I got a thing recently, a young man sent to my agent. Somebody had stolen my voice and they're using it for something. I'm getting a cease and desist. But this is happening a lot. And it's a
Yeah, those of
real battle.
everyone on here, if you don't know about Nava, definitely look it up, become a member, and yeah, they're really working on protecting you.
Yeah. What's well, and I want to encourage you, if you have some questions for Terry, please get them in here. And as a matter of fact, let's see who we got here to see. Wow, McCarty, with all the haggling going on during the process for the project, is there ever a concern with deadlines for the project, i.e.,
Oh,
deadline to record, deadline to edit, produce, deadline to release?
oh my goodness. Yes. The first thing my producers do is they give me a schedule of when it's going to be, when the ad agency is going to approve the specs and the breakdown, when it's going to be given to casting, how many days we have to cast it, when it's going to be presented to the client, and of course, when it's going to be the anticipated shoot date. So, and a lot of times, they were supposed to give me the breakdown to put out in the morning, which gives me a whole day because it takes me a couple of hours, by the way, to prepare this
Oh
and
boy.
get the scripts. It could take me a good 3 hours. Um, and that's after what you're calling the haggling, because we go back and forth sometimes all day long. Well, you didn't give me this terms of agreement. Well, what about this? Well, what about that? And so yes, there definitely are deadlines. And the agents tell me that I give a day and a half for the reads to come back, and the agents are telling me that that's very, very generous.
It's true. I sometimes I'll get something at 9 o'clock for noon. Um, back the same day, but not even the same day. Within a couple hours, and I think in this, we've got all this technology, this time-saving technology. Um, it just actually adds more work. I really believe the equation is they will ask for more and make up their minds and not make up their minds and change their minds until the last second. So even though it seems,
Yes.
yeah, oh, so, but you can edit faster. Oh, but you've got your home studio. You don't have to drive any place. So it's okay if, we expect you to be home. So, you got the golden handcuffs
Yeah.
on. I've got a
No,
question.
it's very nerve-wracking for us. Like I just had a project that had 17 roles in it. So what I worked out with my producer is that I would give them um, like 4 roles in increments. This day they'll get these reads for the roles. So then they had time to listen and get back to me. And then if they weren't happy with something, I had time to re-listen or redirect people. And it was given in to the ad agency that way. And ultimately, the creative director who had to, make the final choices waited till the last day and listened to everything. So, it's very nerve-wracking for casting.
Well, let me ask you this. So back in the day, Cassidy, when I started
Yeah.
in this business, I saw you many, many, many times at casting places, and you were casting some of everything. Has the quality changed with people recording themselves at home? And I know I'm not just talking about voiceover, but on camera things. That has got to have been a big switch. How are the
Mhm.
auditions now? Better, worse? Have you had to learn to put up with lighting's not so great or sound isn't so great? How does that affect you?
Well, for on camera, actors have learned how to, do it right. I mean, I have a on camera class where commercial acting, and part of it is your lighting right? Are you following directions? Do you know how to edit your your slates? You know, put the full shot, edit it in, blah blah blah. And then the voiceover. By the way, I'm one of the few casting directors who cast and is known for casting both on camera and voiceover because I grew up in an ad agency where first we would cast the on camera and then the voiceover. And when I first opened up my own business and in LA, and people would say, "What do you cast?" And I'd say, "Well, commercials, both on camera and voiceover." And they'd go, "Both?" Because it was unheard of. And I say, "Not both?" Because for me, that's how I grew up.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Well,
for the
New
voiceover,
York. New York was so different than LA. I remember voiceover friends of mine in New York who would say, "Oh, we go into the casting, and the writer is there, and the writer is giving us instruction," as opposed to here in Los Angeles, uh, whoever the booth director was the
yeah,
one, and I always felt like maybe the New York actors had a little better shot because the person who had conceived it and kind of heard it in their head, rather than the person that had gotten the written notes and they've translated that into something else.
yeah. Well, as long as I've been doing this, there was only one session where a writer was in there. So for me, that's a very unusual situation. But definitely, so voiceover people, you know, there's tons of people who submit very, very good auditions. And it's sad situation because there are other people where they just need a little direction, a little tweak, um, lean a little friendlier. And there's not that opportunity. And you voice over everyone who's watching, you're up against more competition now because it used to be 50 people and now it's a couple of hundred people that you're up against.
Yeah.
And then they used to accept 45, 50 people And now they don't want to listen to that many.
Oh,
So,
it's very.
you
You know
know,
what? I don't envy you, casting people who have to listen to that same script over and over and over and over again. One of the
yeah,
things I learned is you guys don't listen to the whole thing. if it if it's not getting you in
you
the
sh-
first few seconds, bye bye.
yeah, exactly. But I have to step away from it, and hopefully I have enough time. And then when I'm whittling it down and just say I have 60 people and I need 20, 30 people, hopefully I have the time to step away from it for a couple of hours and then go back because it sounds different. You're listening to it in a different way.
Yeah, I
And
got some questions here from the. With all the haggling going on during the process for the project, is there a concern with deadlines for the project?
oh,
Uh, oh, we
we
did.
just
That's we
answered.
just yeah. And I scroll down, Dave. Don't. I
I
was going. Wow,
know you
this
don't get it
seems
twice.
so familiar.
You don't get.
All right, Carolina C. Terry, for the newbies who don't have agents, what would be the best way to find out about auditions and submit for them? Do you think pay-to-play platforms is the way to get to auditions?
Well, none of us like pay to play. If you're 100% new and you're doing it, I would say look at the pay to play, look at fair, you know, fair payments, and it's good practice. Don't undersell yourself, and you can certainly use it to get the practice and hopefully book some things there, and then you want to move away from that. But don't undersell yourself, that's for sure.
Sadly, especially voices.com, they are the devil. Uh, but the pay to play sites are just a reality in our business now. Um, but we still have agents, we still have a union, and we also have NAVA now. DF Raisin question. Hi, Dave. Hi, Terry. Some people have a knack for acting and are just natural at it. Is that also a thing with casting, or is this primarily education, training, and experience that gets you the job as casting director?
Hmm. Uh, you have to, oh, wow. A lot of people who were casting were once actors, so they have a sensitivity to the acting. Otherwise, the way to do it is to be an assistant, and you just, start seeing what works, what doesn't work. It's amazing, but if you have an opportunity to be an assistant in a casting office, you learn so much by watching if it's on camera, by watching all the auditions or certainly listening. So, you learn, I'd say, being on jobs,
You know,
really.
and I think part of that is sometimes understanding what is a mediocre performance and what is a really great performance. And often I know when I'm in a class and I've got, 10 or 12 people, there'll be somebody um, who does what they think is a really good performance. But I know it's only mediocre. And then there'll be somebody else in that class that really comes and delivers it.
Yeah.
And you go, oh, that's what it is. And I try to
Yeah.
get my students to understand, well, what's the difference between that mediocre performance and this really fine performance? And how can the person whose performance was mediocre, what do they need to learn to do to
I'll,
lift that performance?
I'll tell you commercially, but before I tell you, I want to say to everyone that I've seen Dave teach his video game workshops, his game workshops. And in fact, I'm really excited because we have one coming up May 4th and
Yeah, we
5th. And
do. We do. Hold on.
yeah,
Let me Let me find that. Oh, there we go. There we go.
Yeah. And I've seen I've heard people where they think it's a really good performance. And Dave, the way that you work with people, you get them there. It isn't a really good performance, and you get them to a really good performance because you get, it's from the gut. It's honest from the gut. It has depth. Um, and you get them there. It's really an acting class.
It is, absolutely.
So, yeah. Now for commercials, um, what I find the buzzword a number of years ago, which I really know that I was part of that movement. Um, you asked me earlier, how I stay in it so long. I've been part of trends and movements, and so there was the trend of a non-announcer announcer. Look, some of you have announcer voices, and that's great because you get accounts and you can make tons of money being an announcer. But right now I'm talking about more of the relatable, the non-announcer announcer, which is still kind of announcer,
Conversational.
but yeah. Well, it's gone beyond that, and I started using a language, and I started calling it, um, let me hear your point of view. So what I'm finding is that even, um, like I just cast a credit card, and it's all informational. But the reads that stood out were the reads where the person has a point of view. So it leans a little. I was talking about how a read leans earlier. So instead of leaning to the information, lean a little more towards having a point of view. So, for instance, if it's a travel card, um, I want you to internally make a decision that you use this card to travel. It's made your life easier. You are knowledgeable about how well this card works in your life and the perks you get. So your read will have a point of view,
Yeah.
and that's the trend now.
Oh, so true, so true. Got another question here. Mommy to Mogul, for a typical casting project, how many auditions do you request? And do you listen to all of the submissions, or do you stop once you hear a few voices that you think are right for the project?
I listen to all of them. I've been on a panel recently with other theatrical casting directors. I was the only commercial casting director. Um, I'm a member of the CSA, very proud member of the CSA, which is Casting Society of America. And so I'm included on a lot of panels with theatrical casting directors. And um, ev- I say, and every single person, every single casting director on that panel said, I listen to all of them because I'm curious and I'm digging for that gem. And even though I have people put aside that I think are very good, I'm still giving the other people a chance. Also, a veteran casting director like myself, um, I don't want to have the final say. I look at myself as being, um, I'm like bridging you with the job. So I want you to have I want a lot of actors to have the opportunity to be presented to the people who have the final say. So I don't feel it's my job as a casting director. I don't feel I would be doing my job if I just listen to
The
um,
people you
if
know,
I
the people of reputation.
that
Um, you know, I wouldn't have had a career if people just stopped at the people who were uh, number one, two, who were at the top of the game when I started
yeah
knocking on the LA voiceover door in 1990. Um, and I truly believe, and I see it happen all the time, that the industry is always looking for new people. When I'm talking to my students about casting, well, one, I'll say your auditions have to be marvelous, but just because it is doesn't mean you're going to get the part. Maybe
right
I auditioned with the same part, and they said, "Oh wow, Dave Fennoy, we know he'll deliver. Let's get Dave Fennoy." But maybe for Dave Fennoy, they say, "Well, Dave Fennoy's been around a long time. We've heard his voice in a bunch of stuff. Let's get this new guy." You don't know what they're thinking. All you can do is give them
yeah.
the best audition that you possibly can.
You said something very interesting though. We might pick Dave Fennoy because we trust him. We know he'll do well at the session. We also, who we send on to our client, we have to trust that they're going to come through at a booking. So it's also nerve-wracking if you are very new. We have to take that chance on you and kind of, we have to trust you. You have to
One, can you
gain.
do it? Are you to get to the session on time? Does your home studio work? Oh man, it's a million different things. Hey, I got one
Well,
from
more
Ellen.
so, yeah. And especially, can they take being directed this way, that way,
Ah,
and another way, and not fall apart?
well, that's the technical part of what we do. We are artists, but we're also technicians, and sometimes it's as simple as that needs to be longer or shorter, or louder, or more smile. Um, you have to be able to change on a dime. Got something here from Ellen Dubbin. It's such a pleasure to
Oh,
audition for
Ellen
Dubin. Yeah,
Dubin. Hi, Ellen.
you know what? And Ellen, I'm sorry, I always make that mistake. Ellen Dubin. You know, sometimes you make the mistake, and then the rest of your life you're doing Ellen Dubin. It's such a pleasure to audition for Terry. She's such a team player and so specific in her directions to get the best out of her actors. Miss that in person human touch. Boy, I'll tell you. I'll tell you.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
if one thing could change in how we do things now, it would be to work with casting directors who have an idea of what the project is and can share that information. When I'm talking to students, one of the things I'm telling them, look, you have to be better than just, oh, this is an okay read. Uh, you have to be your
Mm,
own director. You have to bring more than just, I said these words nicely, and because that's not going to get it. And you get to relax a little bit when you're on the job because you have a director. They're going to give you your point of view. This is what's going on. This is why this is happening. This is what you're reacting to. But you've got to invent that
right,
in your audition.
right. And it's hard. Like with TV, you're the supporting player for the picture. Radio is very broad strokes, and you can invent more, but TV is much more subtle.
Yeah, yeah. Massage the pictures from underneath. Rhonda Woodhouse, Terry B. and Dave. Uh,
Rhonda,
ah, there we go.
Rhonda
People we
just took
know.
a workshop.
When do you know that you have the talent to be a VO actor? I love your workshops, Terry B. Looking forward to Dave's May workshop on May 4th and 5th. Thank you.
What is Rhonda asking?
Oh,
I got caught up in her
I'll just bring her
compliments.
back up there. When do you know that you have the talent to
Oh,
be a VO actor? Good question.
yeah. You it's one step at a time. Like Rhonda took I have a core kickstart workshop. Those of you, I'll put in a plug. Those of you who are just uh, thinking of getting into voiceover, I have this core kickstart, and I do it with someone else, Nick O'Mana, who's a working voiceover artist, and we both teach you, and it's designed for short, 3 nights, extremely comprehensive. You can look at Terry Berland workshops, plural.com. And then you go into, so Rhonda, you experienced after the core kickstart where you learn how to analyze. First, you have to learn, guys, how to analyze a piece of copy, um, start getting to know your voice, seeing what your voice does. So you're not ready to do anything then, and you're certainly not ready to make a demo at that point. And then you get more advanced, and for instance, the way we teach under Voice Print West is then you get to know your branding, and through that, your reads, and when you can really control your voice, make good decisions, own your read, know how to work your mic, have relationship with your mic, um, you make a demo, and you know that it's not the last demo you're ever going to make. It's your first demo, and you start getting out there and auditioning and getting the work you get, and then you get more, you know,
More comfortable,
stronger
more
and
seasoned.
like, yeah. And I'm sure even Dave, in his point in voiceover life as an artist, I bet you anything he doesn't keep the same demo for 2 years.
Well,
You're always evolving and changing,
well,
right?
always evolving and changing. I'm pretty fortunate that I'm working all the time, so I can't say a demo's not important, and it's probably one of the things I need to do more often.
No, no, you
But I'm
don't
working all the
actually.
time.
You're
Um,
working all the time. He's signing, he's winning awards. Someone like Dave, yeah, someone like Dave is not, and
Someone like Dave needs to update his demos too. It's been a few years. You make me feel guilty
every
now. I gotta.
voiceover artist who's wants to I mean, Dave does other things besides games. I mean, he
Oh
books
yeah, oh yeah.
commercials for
I
me
do commercials. I
and
do
other
TV
people.
promos. I do
Yeah,
narration. But
exactly.
when I decided to start taking teaching seriously, video games as a genre didn't have anybody that I knew teaching it, and I had a lot of notoriety for the video games, and I said, well, you know
Yeah.
what, I'll start in this niche. I do teach everything. Still, people come to me mostly for video games. Hey, we got one from Emma O'Neill Hart. Dave, same for me. When I was new, I was the oddball, but it's the folks who took a chance on me.
We know Emma. We
Oh,
know
of
Emma
course we
O'Neill.
know Emma.
Hi,
Um,
Emma.
got another question here. Carolina
Wait a minute.
Sequest.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. I want to use Emma as an example. So, people ask, how do you get on a casting director's radar? Well, you get better and better and better, and we know who's out there eventually, who's good, and relationships are very important. And Emma, has been at the convention I go to. I only go to one, VO Atlanta, and social media is very important too, I believe. And like my Instagram is very, very active. You should all follow my Instagram and post on it, which is Berland Casting, not Terry Berland. That's my personal one, Berland Casting. So I see Emma on social media, and now Emma is a name to me. And so I think of her voice when something comes up. So it takes time, everybody out here who's on this call with us, in this room with us, it takes time, but be patient, stick in there, you know, be active on social media, do your due diligence, and it will happen.
You know, I'm a great believer that just like a record you heard for the first time that you're kind of and then you heard it 3 or 4 more times, and after a while you're tapping your toe and singing along, and hey, you know what? I really like that record. I think that happens to us as voice actors, that sometimes it just takes a little while for the industry to really hear.
Yeah, yes, I agree.
Let's see.
I
Let's
agree.
Caroline, it's a question for both Dave and when do we know we are ready to make our demo reel? Oh, good question.
Yeah, good question. I would say when you have control of the mic, when you feel, like I said before, I'm really not going to say anything different. You feel like you have control when there's warmth, you know how to put a smile in it, in your read. And whoever you're working with says you're ready. Just be careful, that you're working with um, respected people in the industry, and you don't take one of these classes where they say, and from this class, we will use the material from this class and cut a demo from this. That just doesn't happen. You
Yeah.
probably want to add to that, Dave, because you grew up in this business. And you can tell
um,
them.
got Chris Anthony, Lansdowne. Love that Terry is so warm and personal, but knows her stuff. You really are. You really are warm and personal, but you don't pull any punches. You tell the truth.
Yeah.
Mike Cunningham, I met Terry at VO Atlanta, and she was very nice. We were all of the rest of you, as were all of the rest of you. Yeah, there you go. Trying to get a last few things in here. Wow, I'm honored. I adore you, and I'm so grateful to know you. Well,
Oh.
see there, Emma. But Emma, you have
Dave,
what's that?
when you're done with Emma, do you want to add to when people would know that it's time to make a demo when after you finish with
Well,
Emma?
sometimes I think you need to wait until the person you're coaching with says, I think you're getting ready to make a demo. I think you're ready now. Um, I often feel like you actually do know. Don't let your desire to have a demo get in the way of your being ready. I find that's the biggest issue with people I work with is a lot of times they're not actually ready. Oh, but I want to make my demo, and I'm saying you're not ready yet. Um,
Yeah.
Also, it's very interesting. I find it happened with me. You make your demo, you'll love it for about 6 months, but
Uh-huh.
once you start working, very quickly you understand how green you really were with that demo. But we all need that jumping
First
off.
demo.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
But
your
you got to get
first
to a
demo.
certain point.
Yes, and don't let the person who's editing it over edit it.
Mm.
Don't let them make you sound better than you are, because that won't get anybody any place. It will harm you.
It will harm you. One of the worst things you can do is, you're doing 50 takes on everything, and they've Frankenstein together a wonderful demo, and it's got all the right music, and you've got 10 different sentences from 50 different takes, and it sounds great, but you can't duplicate it. And what do you want to do with the demo? You want to get an agent, you want hopefully to be booked off of it. And I promise you, you send it to an agent, they love it, they call you in. They're not just going to sign you, they're going to hand you some copy. You're going to have to perform
Right.
right then, right there.
Right.
And if you can't, wow, you've just really hurt your chances for ever being heard by them again. And guess what? Although agents are in competition with one another, they all know each other. They're not in that much competition that they don't talk. So just like people get to know who's doing really well, who had a great demo, they get to know who had a scam demo.
Yes.
So you'll develop a reputation that you don't want to have. So
It's a small industry, believe it or
it's
not.
a small industry.
Yeah, we know
I'm
each other.
I'm gonna bring this up again. Let's talk about it just one more time. No, that wasn't it. That wasn't it.
But I like
Mention your book,
you show.
Breaking into Commercials, and the workshop that we're having on Saturday, May 4th, Sunday, May 5th, 10 to 5. So it's 2 days, $395 for a full participant, or $100 to audit. I always record them, and you will have access to the recording after the fact. And my tact is not voices, but acting.
Yes.
My tact is less about the words and more about the character. We have to learn how to make the character important, not the words. If you
Yes.
are making that character important, the words will take care of themselves. And
Absolutely.
what I teach are ways to help you do that.
And I've watched it all the way through, and Dave is brilliant. So if anyone wants that edge on video games, come and join.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, we're a little
Yeah.
over time here at 7:02, Terry. It always goes by so fast. It
It
always goes by so
does.
fast.
Everyone follow me on Instagram, Berland Casting. Um, Take a look at terryberlandworkshops.com. Those of you who are new, who want to get started, we do have the core kickstart that's starting in a couple of weeks. And
If you just go to Terry Berland's Terry Berland Casting, Terry Berland Workshops, sorry, it's terryberlandworkshops.com, you will see a number of workshops that you will find very valuable, including this one on May 4th and 5th.
yeah,
If
there are people who are signed up already, so it's starting. It's
good,
starting to fill.
good, good,
Hmm.
good.
Yeah,
Wait a minute, wait a minute. Buddy of mine popping up
I
here.
produce this because
Thompson
I
Howell.
believe I believe in Dave and his work, and I love bringing talented teachers and information, to voiceover artists.
Well, I have learned to love teaching. My mother was a school teacher. She always said, "Oh, all this artsy fartsy stuff you're doing, son, you should get your teacher's degree." And Mom, I'm not going to be a school teacher. But now I absolutely love it, and there's nothing like um, someone finally getting it and
Yes.
realizing, because
Yeah.
you think it's simple, but once you have the key, I'm not going to say it's simple, uh, but you will find your way to open the door to character work, and ultimately, it's
Well,
all character work.
yeah, and the thing is, it's not just you're not just talking, you're working with Dave is working with you hands on. and he's bringing you through finding that character. It's really thrilling.
Oh, thank you.
It
Well,
is.
we're going to call it a night.
All
Um,
right. Did go
and
fast.
Terry, it has been my pleasure. I have known you since I came to Los Angeles. You have been a fixture in the casting world and the teaching world, voiceover, but also on camera. Um, and I'm just glad to have you as a friend, and to still you're still here and I'm still here too.
I feel the same way having you as a friend
Oh, fantastic!
and a trusted artist.
Thank you.
Yep.
You honor me. You honor me.
Mhm.
All right. Well, we're going to call it a night.
Thank
I want to
you.
thank you. Are welcome, Terry Berland, everybody. Uh, One of the finest casting directors in the country. Um, I do encourage you to go to Terry Berland Casting, um, and you can find this workshop there, as well
Terry
as
Berland.
workshops. Terry Berland
Yeah,
workshops.
Terry Berland workshops.
Terry Berland workshops. Terry Berland workshops. Terry Berland workshops. Everybody say it with me now. Terry Berland workshops. Of course, I want you to take mine, but you're going to find some great workshops there other than mine as well. All right. Going to
You're
call
the
it
only gaming one. You're
the
the
only
only
gaming one. There you go.
Yep.
Gonna call it a night. All the Ask Dave Fennoy Anythings live on my YouTube channel, Dave Fennoy Voiceover Training. This one will be there, in about 5 minutes. If you're interested in private coaching with me, davefennoy.com, you can click on the Study VO tab and book yourself. Follow me at Dave Fennoy VO, and I look forward to seeing some of you in that class on May 4th and 5th. And in the meantime and in between time, book something.